Hi, guys, and welcome to the Horror Room. So, last week was my birthday, and I showed you guys the Dead Formats haul that I had. But also, that was when I was going to go see the Toxic Avenger remake. Now, it would have been nice to do it on the same day, get my thoughts out there quick, but I wanted to really think about what they were about this remake in particular because I, like a lot of you who are familiar with Toxic Avenger, grew up with Toxic Avenger. Um, I actually had a tape that my aunt recorded, which had one, two, and three, and I believe it was on USA Up All Night. Uh, it was hosted by Gilbert Godfrey because I remember him going, "The Toxic Avenger." Like I can't do a good Gilbert Godfrey, but if you remember the airing, then you know what I'm talking about. So they did the trilogy back to back. This is when there were only three. Now there's technically four. Um, and yeah, they were their TV cuts of them, but they still had a lot of cool scenes. It wasn't until years later that I was able to find and watch the unrated versions and say, "Wow, these movies are a lot crazier than what I saw." But I still, even just seeing the censored movies growing up, fell in love with them. Especially the first one. That iconic scene of Melvin running down the street to Night on Bald Mountain, and Melvin's on fire. um, you got the transformation scene with like the colors changing. You got the wacky villains like a cigar face and the mayor. But we're not here to talk about the original. Of course, the original's great. Nothing's gonna ever top the original, and the remake being no exception, of course. But I wanted to go into it with an open mind and treat it for what it was. Um, Now, I might get into slight spoilers, so just a warning. I'm gonna try not to, though. I don't think I really need to explain to you the whole movie. Um, Now, I am gonna talk about some things that I didn't like about it, which was actually less than I thought, and some things that I really did like. Um, so, just giving you a heads up. Right off the bat, let's talk about some of the things I didn't like. Uh, Not so much problems with the movie, just like minor things that I noticed that were kind of weird. Like for one, the title of the movie isn't the Toxic Avenger; it's the Toxic Avenger Unrated. Like they had to throw the word unrated as part of the title. And on watching it, I gotta say it was a lot tamer than I was expecting. There was definitely some scenes in there that was like, okay, I guess to the average audience member, whoa, that's shocking. Um, but if we're talking about Terrifier levels of unrated, yeah, those are warranted, and those I could definitely see like, oh, it's crazy that this movie's showing on a big screen. Even the infamous butt guts scene, um, I don't know, it was just kind of boom in and out, literally, and that was the other thing that I really noticed that there was a lot of CGI used for some of the gore, and it was very noticeable, very distracting. They did use some practical effects, and yeah, but when the CGI was apparent, it was like you could tell. Um, Also, another minor nitpick is that like I don't know, there was a lot going on plot wise, like just like jumping all around. Um, so it kind of like felt a little like at times like oh my gosh. Um, One of the things that I kind of predicted near the end of the movie, I wasn't thrilled about, even though it would seem like it's something that you'd want in a Toxic Avenger movie. Um, Without spoiling anything, I think it's just safe to say that that aspect definitely kind of felt more Toxic Crusaders level, kind of cartoony. Um, and I know the point of this remake wasn't to be like, oh, it's super serious. We're gonna make everyone think this is the most important Toxic Avenger movie. No. But with that said, let's get on to the things I did like about the movie. They did use the Night on Bald Mountain music during the transformation. I think a couple little cues every once in a while. Um, so yeah, it was nice to see that they stuck to that. The transformation scene was, you know, to me not as iconic, but they worked well with it. Um, uh, Peter Dinklage was actually pretty good. Like for his physical role in the movie, I know he voices the Toxic Avenger for the actual Toxic Avenger parts. And I can't remember of the woman who does the body double as Toxie. Um, but when they were syncing the voice onto Toxie, it was seamless. Like you would actually think that was Peter Dinklage in the makeup if you didn't know better. And you know his portrayal of something Guzman. That's I remember his last name's Guzman. Um, yeah, it was pretty well done. Elijah Wood was the one that I was really excited about, and like I'm not saying his performance was bad or anything, but there were just to me there was not enough. Like he was the most intriguing villain. That's all I can say. Um, the killer nuts were kind of ridiculous, but they did remind me of like your stereotypical trauma villains. Oh, there's one more. Hold on. There's one more complaint I have. There was not one single man in a dress. Come on. Every Toxic Avenger movie has had at least one man wearing a dress. I don't know why they didn't do that because that would have been the ultimate like check mark. But they did have little like homages to other trauma movies. They did mention Nukem High. Uh, this one of the killer nuts is wearing like a chicken mask, so maybe that's a poultrygeist reference. Um, but yeah, they tried to stick mainly to the Toxic Avenger. There wasn't any in-universe references to any of the other films that I noticed. But maybe, I mean, I guess you could say the third one technically, even though it's not, you know, perfectly the same. Like that's all I can say without spoiling too much. Um, Now it did feel like there was some moments in there that were a little goofier than what you'd expect from Trauma. Uh, some of the heavy like offensive stuff didn't feel as heavy, so I guess that's a good thing. You don't want to alienate the audience too much. Um, so it definitely felt like a more widely universal Toxic Avenger style movie. Like if you were to show some of the sequels, people would probably not get it or not like it. This is a movie I can see a lot of people saying, "Oh, that was fun," and for the most part, I had a good time. Did I hate it? No. I laughed quite a bit. I did enjoy some of the goofier moments, but in the end, I left going, that was fine, but the original obviously is the goat. You're not gonna top that one. So would I recommend the new Toxic Avenger remake? Yeah. Like if you like trauma movies, it's definitely got enough in there that it feels uh, reminiscent. Not exactly like a trauma movie, but you can tell that they were trying. And the acting, pretty good, pretty great. Uh, Even Kevin Bacon, which I thought he was going to be a little more over the top, which he does have some moments, but yeah, like he was pretty subdued compared. Like I said, Elijah Wood was the one that I was interested in, and I just felt like we didn't get enough of Elijah Wood's villain. Um, and yeah, there was a couple off villains, like they did the it wasn't a taco restaurant like the original. It was like a Miss Meat renamed from Mr. Meat. Oh, they were trying to make some woke jokes or something, stuff like that. It didn't really land for me, and like the Toxic Avenger cussing and go motherfucker and stuff. I don't know. It just felt a little off to me, but I get it. They're trying to change the image. The few scenes that I thought were like, okay, this is why it's unrated. Is there's a little bit of sexual humor, I guess, with like girls flashing, if guys flashing. Um, but it was like you could tell the guy stuff at least was fake. So it just felt more silly than shocking. Um, but like I said, that's part of the trauma charm. And Lloyd Kaufman did make an appearance in the movie. I was kind of looking for it. I do believe the director, Macon Blair, is also in there somewhere. Maybe it's more obvious, but I couldn't remember what he looked like. But yeah, like I said, it was a decent enough movie. I would recommend at least watching it once. Do you need to rush out to the theater and watch it? Not necessarily. Um, if you like the popcorn bucket, get it. I don't care about them things, but I thought it was a good movie. Yeah, I'd say 3 out of 5. It was like pretty middle of the road. Like it didn't get me like, oh, I gotta own this. And if I found it for cheap, I'd probably grab it. I'd probably check it out again, just maybe some of the bonus features, or go through and see if, oh, like I spot this thing. That's a reference from this movie. But I'd have to be a pretty big trauma addict. I'd say I'm about 2/3 there. Um, but hey, hopefully this is a nice little mini review. Maybe I'll start doing more of these. There's so many movies that people talked like a ton about, and I know this is probably one that's been, you know, by the time I'm uploading it, it's probably not as current as most people talking about it. But I just wanted to get my thoughts out there because this is definitely a franchise that I love and I grew up with. Um, but for me, it's always going to be about the first three movies, especially one and two. Three's not terrible, but by then it was like, okay. But thanks for watching, guys. Should have a new video out this Sunday. I can't remember what it is, but I guess that gives you incentive to stay tuned and check it out. And yeah, uh, bye.